we'll have a very good product. We'll have a very good field. We'll know maintenance cost. I think in long term, we won't see some of the compaction. And we've also chased down the turf field that our GMAX test when we're done will not exceed 130 GMAX, right, from 90 to 130. Grass is around 85 to 90, so we'll be pretty close to that. And then we've also put in there, at the end of 8 years, that field cannot exceed 160 or 165 GMAX. If it does, they own making it to 160. So say at the 8th year, we do the GMAX test all over the place, and we find out that we have 170, 180. Yeah. They have to, by warranty, because we have a written warranty, they have to, by warranty, come back and make the repairs.
Okay, and again, I would point out to some sort of a performance bid or performance bond on something like that, because 8 years, who knows if the company's in business. Mr. Jones had a question?
Yeah, I do. Two questions, sorry. The GMAX standard, is that something that other people are doing in their bid? Has that been done before?
Yeah.
Like 8 years from now, that's something?
But I think the difference, Mike, is the length of time that the warranty is requiring. They're saying that yearly maintenance is ridiculous. So obviously, you know that this is what we have to accept down the road, and that's not going to be good for us, because we're going to be paying out of pocket for the repair or the maintenance of the turf field.
I can give you the,
What's the warranty? I mean, I'm sorry, life expectancy.
10 years.
10 years again?
This right here, from reading up on it,
Yep.
they're looking, by next year, they're looking at increasing this to 10 years.
Okay.
They feel as though that this is a product that's going to outlive the 8 years that they're warrantying. See, they're warrantying, Robbie, that this is going to stay in that good of shape for 8 years.
Okay. Good.
And they're using a lot of this turf, like Plymouth North. They're having
fields,
baseball
yeah.
fields and softball fields done in this. The way it rolls, the ball rolls on it is exceptional when it's completed. You don't have the drag. So,
I can,
And maintenance-wise is, I'm assuming, much cheaper than having regular grass in there.
well, we've gone the full circle, because originally we were going to get a green carpet.
Yep.
We were going to paint numbers. And then we were going to do this. So we found some interesting facts out there. We followed some towns that did that and what their numbers came in at.
Okay, good.
So it's heavy in maintenance, so we have to always maintain it, always paint the numbers, and their bid number was not that far off from what we're getting estimates at.
Okay, good.
So by now having the numbers built in and the lines built into the turf, the maintenance costs have dropped.
Good.
The yearly maintenance cost will not be out there painting numbers for 8 years, or hopefully 10 years.
Excellent. Good.
What does it cost us to maintain a baseball field
It's huge money. It's,
on an annual basis?
I couldn't tell you off, because every season's different. This season's been terrible.
Well, I can tell you just to give you a rough idea for what we did at the Botieri complex, we've spent roughly $60,000 or $70,000 to renovate 2 fields. But one field, it was the infield, the other field, it was the outfield. So probably to do one field, and again, it wouldn't be the size of a high school field or a senior league field, is 70 grand. We're getting prices at least that high for doing it at the senior league field at Robinson Street. And that's by a reputable person, that the guy's out of Connecticut, that's phenomenal.
So, if it's gonna, I'm just thinking,
And that's to blow the whole thing up and.
I'm thinking for the future. You know, with our fields that are out there. Do we look at, you know, perhaps, because the fields only last so long, they can only have so much play in them,
Yeah.
so to speak. You know, save on fertilizer, save on manpower, mowing, save on water, that resource, you know, et cetera. Do we think about in the
It's an
future?
option. The only difference is that under community preservation funding, at least through Hanson, they won't do anything with turf fields, but they would do for a grass renovation, their portion of a grass renovation. So, I mean, it'd be worthwhile,
Yeah.
absolutely, to get prices, what it would cost to do a natural grass renovation versus a turf field renovation
I'm just thinking for the
and balance
future.
it out.
Playtime's the most critical.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Our kids have been using the gymnasium because of the rain. If it rains a couple of days, they can't get out there for 3 days.
Yeah.
And we have to go out, rototill the infield, rototill the clay, let it dry out, go back out and groom it, and then if it happens to rain overnight, it gets more saturated. So it's not easy.
it's a constant battle.
It is.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah, little off the agenda, but I sent Ernie some pictures. I got some complaints this week from the middle school field.
has nothing to do with the school district, and I've already
Well,
talked soccer. It has to do with Parks and Fields, and we've already met with them.
Yeah.
We've already spoken with them today, and Ernie's coming to the Parks and Fields meeting.
Yeah.
But it's town-owned property, it's not school.
But we mow it.
We mow it, but that's it. The school district is not responsible for the upkeep
I
of
mean, that must be beating up your lawnmowers and this
Oh.
and that. I mean, I took pictures, I mean, there's pictures of open sprinklers and this and that, you know.
Yep.
I can't believe no
town's
one,
responsibility.
I know it's easy to say, but at some point, someone's gotta do
And I will
something.
gladly run soccer under the bus for it.
It's in the middle.
Soccer came before Parks and
that's who was
Fields.
up there complaining, so you
Yeah,
know.
they came before Parks and Fields last year. They came before us 3 months ago, asked what they needed. Not once had they even brought up that they're using the middle school field or they need renovation. When I talked to Pepper St. Lucia today about it, we've already come up with a plan that they're gonna have to apply for a Community Preservation Act, a Community Preservation grant, and Community Preservation was made aware of it today, that that's coming down the pike for them, because talking with him, you're not gonna be able to do a small renovation to it. It basically has to be blown up and fixed. So, from what he was talking about, because even as far as irrigation, talking with Ernie just briefly before the meeting, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. We don't even know if the irrigation system works. And again, that's not the school's responsibility, that's on.
What about right now, I mean, if the kids are on, who's liable for stepping in one of those open,
They're not playing on it whatsoever now.
we don't go on, the kids don't go on that field?
As far as gym class? Oh, I don't know about that. But I can only speak for soccer. Soccer is not using it whatsoever. So their league told them that they couldn't play on it. So they're not using it for games anymore.
My daughter's using it for
So.
Hanson soccer.
They're not using it for games, according
I mean, they're doing,
to,
she had practice.
whatever what they're doing for practice is something totally different for their league. We
Yeah.
were told today they can't use it
Okay.
for games, so.
Getting, oh, Mr. Hayes?
I'm going to put my 2 cents worth in.
Okay.
Ernie, I know there's a couple of covers off down there. That
Yeah, I saw those pictures today.
do we have any of that?
We can get them.
Can we order them and just
Yep.
secure that?
Pretty, I mean, it's a quick walk was 2 covers,
Yeah.
I mean.
No, and that's fine to do something to make it safe for the kids, but we're not gonna fix it for soccer. That's something that's much bigger
So-
than what we're gonna take on.
So if, again, if the gym teacher put a work order and said, I don't go
Right.
in that field.
No, I don't blame you, yeah.
If there's 2 covers off, can you get the 2 covers? We would have obviously done that. We didn't know that.
Our
We didn't know that.
landscapers wouldn't put in a,
Well, they probably, I don't know if they've energized that irrigation system just yet. Probably not,
the mower, I mean, a mower hit it.
yeah.
I'm not saying whose it was, but I mean,
I don't
you would
think that irrigation system even runs, according to Hanson
Well-
Youth Soccer.
We've, in the past years, I could go up there during the summer and look to the left, and I'll see a zone that will be on, and I'll think about, okay, that was on yesterday. I'll come back in the afternoon, that same zone was on. There's a lock on the shed. We had no
Didn't
control
even see
over
the
that.
shed, yeah.
And it would just be, you know.
Yeah.
So I have to call the soccer group?
It would have to be, because now I talked again with soccer today. They don't even know where the shed would be
Yeah.
for controls for it. Because that's what I asked them, do you have irrigation? They thought they did. They told us it didn't work because Parks and Fields, we didn't maintain anything to do with that.
Yeah.
At least not in the past 2 years that I've been on. So, and that's why we're taking, well, you've been on for 10. You gotta come to a meeting once in a while so you can fight. But anyway.
Did they
but
treat
so
that?
Parks and Fields is going to, with soccer, we're gonna take that field over. So,
Good move.
yeah, because that's the only way it's gonna get maintained is if we take it under our wing to maintain.
Didn't look that, like,
So from what, again, I haven't walked it,
Yeah.
from what they were telling me, it has to be blown up and done over. But
Probably
we haven't
like-
walked it yet. We're gonna bring AquaTurf in to walk it and take a look and see what really needs to be done to it. But again, we're gonna go through community
does
preservation.
anyone use that baseball field?
They just started to. One of the sports groups asked to use it. So I know soccer wants to increase their footprint, but that's a discussion for another,
Yeah.
for a
That's so
different meeting,
far off, though.
different group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're far off the agenda here.
So,
No, I was saying,
The reason why I'm perturbed with it is I know Bob Rogers got 1,000,001 phone calls, and
I got barrotted yesterday.
he's like, I have no idea what this is all about.
Yeah, I
because
was
it's not a
shocked.
school.
I went and walked it today. I'm like, what the heck could be that bad? And the only thing I saw, I mean, it really should be addressed is those two covers that I could quickly see, but
According to what I was told, it was barren, no grass.
Mike, does
the
the
grass needs
track,
to be mowed. Just
They told me there was
like McQuan, I mean,
no grass.
last week was a foot long, yeah.
there's a track under there, you know?
You could barely, you could almost, it looks like a,
Yeah.
yeah. You could see it, yeah.
Yeah. Because we talked about restoring that about 10 years ago. I think it might have been when Chris Moore was in charge. Do you remember that,
yes,
Ernie?
it was.
We talked about restoring and putting the track back down, and, because they wanted to do, the school wanted to do, I forget who was the AD at the building at the time, but they wanted to do some types of races there, and we talked about that. And then it just
Kevin Black.
might have been.
Yeah, it was
Oh, you
wrong.
want-
Probably was, yep.
But May 25th is when Parks and Fields is meeting again, and that's, soccer's coming in, so we can figure out exactly what they need to do.
Thank you, sorry, Fred.
That's
No
okay.
problem.
I'm going to just give you the schedule for the turf field. The bids are going to be available on Monday, May 15th. They're going to have a walk the site visit on Friday, May 19th, and then the bids are going to be due on May 30th at 1 PM. Give them at least 2 weeks, so.
When are we opening them, 5:30?
Yep, May 30th at 1 PM, right here in Central Office.
Wish us luck, Fred.
What?
So it's being advertised on Combis now, because that's state regulation, newspaper, and the Central Register. And it will be available on our website at www.whrsd.org/bids.
Next on the agenda, water testing. The Boston Globe, along with the Brockton Enterprise, recently have run articles about copper and lead in the water, specifically in schools.
Yep.
And they had a link to the DEP study that showed that Whitman-Hanson was not participating in the water testing. And Ernie's here to report out on the testing, but I feel it's very important to note the reason why we're not shown in that study is because when problems began to be noticed, we didn't wait for the state to say, we're going to give you money to test your water. We tested it immediately. We were very proactive and ahead of the curve. So therefore, by the time the state had money, and I assume we tried to get money back and they wouldn't give it to us, we had already completed our studies and remediated any problems that were there. On that note, I'm going to turn it over to Ernie.
I'm going to step back a little bit as far as when they offered the program. If you've already done, contracted it out, we contracted it out, we used analytical labs. We've already, they had another company that they, cut a deal with, that they low bid or whatever, it wasn't analytical labs. So to backtrack on that, Fred, we wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay.
This year, and I'll just move forward a little bit, and I'll come back to the issues that we discovered going through it. We've requested to be part of that program. It'll start up again next couple of weeks. We're on the list, and it's done through UMass Amherst. So I think what happens there is people in the lab there it's probably an educational part too for that group that does that in the environmental field. So it's run through UMass Amherst, and then I don't know where the lab is, but what will happen, they'll give us a location that we do the tests, and we do those tests, and then the information gets reported back. What we did, because we called both water departments, found out where they were testing. They do 2 locations in each building, and we felt as though we needed to expand that. So we did a lot more locations. I think we did 55 tests. Normal tests, Duval would be under the water department. For the lead and copper would be 2 locations. Same thing at Conley, same thing at Whitman Middle. So we expanded that. So we went to every drinking fountain We went into the cafeteria, into the kitchen, any of the potable water. And I really felt as though Whitman Middle would be a problem child. It wasn't. It was Indian Head School. We had 2 hits, high on lead and high on copper, on the bubbler outside the nurse's office and the faucet inside the nurse's office. Once we got, and how this works is, we do the test, we send it to analytical labs. If you have no problem, they send you the report and the invoice. If you have something that's over the limit, they call you, and they
Bless you.
notify you that, bless you. Then they notify you that this is the levels, and this is what needs, immediate action needs to be done. What we did is, once we found out where the problem was, we shut the water off to those 2 locations. We ordered bottled water, a cooler, with the jugs, 5-gallon jugs of water, so they had a dispenser in that room. And then we traced back, this gave us an opportunity to trace back where the problem lied. What we found out is, when they did the renovation, they connected to the old pipes. They didn't remove all the old pipes under the slab. They connected to the old pipes. In the specification, it told them to bring back to the boiler room where the new pipes were. In those 2 locations, they didn't. So what we ended up doing is we rerouted the water system to the new system. Once we did that, we retested, and the lead and copper came back normal. So there is a process you go through, like I said, we expanded the testing to different locations that they don't normally test. And that's how we discovered it.
And the only problems we found were just the Indian Head
Indian Head School.
and just the one bubbler and the one,
Bubbler outside the nurse's office, which we removed.
yeah.
We don't use it, we locked it up because we put actually a new bottle fill bubbler down by the gymnasium. And then a sink inside. We did 2 things. We replaced the piping and we replaced the faucet to that sink.
Okay. I appreciate that, because I think it's good to show that we're proactive and not reactive, and we were ahead of the curve in that one. So I want to commend you, and
Well, thank you, Fred.
it's a good thing. I think that we should pound our chest very hard on that one.
Good job, Ernie.
Good job, Bernie.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Upcoming projects, summer 2017.
Okay, I'm going to start with, I go through my standard with the district as far as, the work orders, and we've had conversations, Ruth and myself and Pat have had conversations, getting this school dude system to work more efficient, getting more people to use it. So again, I repeat this all the time because I think it's important that you look at this and see that there is a system in place, and we're working on work orders and getting things done. And then as far as SJ Services, we have a new robot vacuum over there. I shut it off because I didn't want it buzzing over here. But that thing is really making a difference in this library. It runs from 6 o'clock on, and it's really, when I look at the deep cleaning it's doing, it's getting into the corners, it's really doing. So we have a robot that is vacuuming this carpet, and it's efficient, and it's doing a pretty good job. So SJ Services is trying to stay ahead of the technology bubble. So where we have a big area like this,
Who owns the robot?
SJ Services.
Okay.
So what we did is we looked on the internet for the best robot that's out there, and we wanted to get one that has a good area that would keep the dust. So there's a filter system plus the storage area. There's some that the storage area is really small, but this is a pretty good size area. So we have a system set up. It'll do its work overnight. Tonight's going to be a little bit confused by all the new chairs over here because it's already built in how the library's set up. So if you move a table, it'll kind of stutter for a little bit.
Does
So we'll
it
go
use
back.
theirs?
Can
Like,
we
do
turn
theirs?
it on and leave it on during the meeting?
I got a
I'd be fun to watch.
video. I showed a video, and what's interesting, Fred, now I get off on this stuff because it's important that we look at this minor stuff, but when you have a desk with 4 chairs around, It goes inside where those 4 chairs are, and it tries to figure its way out while it's vacuuming, and it finds its way out, and then comes back and relearns how it got in there and how it got out. So it's a pretty good thing.
It'd be pretty funny with an audience here, and who knows?
Oh, yeah, that's why I shut it off. I didn't want to. So we have our summer schedule done for SJ Services. It's aggressive, but what we've basically done, and this is how we do it, we find out what our students, what our staff need in the buildings, and then we work backwards with SJ. This is how you have to clean the building when we're not there. If it takes them weekends and evenings to do it, so be it. This building's very busy. Middle school, both middle schools are very busy. So the schedule's in, they've accepted it, and we'll move on. All right? McQuon School, Christine went over that, about the bulkhead door. Indian Head, we have right now we're getting prices on the rooftop unit in the kitchen. We've also had a couple of contractors up to look at the classrooms for removal of the ceilings and putting a new ceiling back. This is a 2x2 ceiling. Over at Indian Head now, they have a 2x4, and it's the old grid work. When we put the new ceiling back, it'll go back a 2x2. And then we'll have the 2 foot by 2 foot drop-in fluorescent bulbs, fluorescent lights. Hanson Middle.
And do fluorescent or LED?
LED, I'm sorry, LED. Hanson Middle, the office reconfiguration, I met with Leone and Bill today. We also had the door company out there yesterday at both buildings, Hanson and Whitman Middle. And we're coming up with some pretty good, we knew what we wanted, but we're coming up with some pretty good ideas on what needs to be done. The security of both of those schools is going to be enhanced after the summer. And plus the reconfiguration, I think it'll be, especially at Hanson Middle, be so much better for the staff over there. And we also have the ceiling fans going in the gym over there, and then the recommissioning of the HVAC system. I met with the teachers, the staff on Monday, I think it was, because there was some confusion what recommissioning really meant to them. Some people, how are you? Some people thought that they were going to get a complete new HVAC system, which I explained to them when this high school came online, it really wasn't commissioned, fully commissioned. Today, MSBA requires fully commissioned in schools. So what we're going to do, and I explained it to them, we're going to go in there, we're going to find where the problem areas are, identify it, and then build a capital plan from that, from what they tell us. So that was acceptable to them. Duval, as Christine said about the roof, I think what we found is some areas that we're going to be able to identify that the leaks came in. That last rainstorm we had was 2 inches of rain. We did have, we had no leaks here at the high school. I surveyed all the schools. We did have 3 leaks at Duval School. Basically that and the wall at Whitman Middle along the cafeteria, it was the only 2 places that really leaked district-wide.
We still have the tubes sucking the water in to buckets, the Whitman Middle?
Yeah. Whitman Middle, the bleachers and the painting of the gym, I talked about that earlier, and the reconfiguring of the doors, and then the playgrounds at both Conley, Duval, and Whitman Middle will be redone.
Live at 5.
And then Conley, we did the duct work that was peeling out there, the card access door at the cafeteria, and of course relining the playground. And then the high school. We still have some work to be done on the tennis courts. As you drive by, it's really nice to see the nice, shiny new tennis courts.
Came out
It's awesome,
fantastic.
Yeah, and
Great.
as the years go by, the way that that's done, I bet 8 years down the road, they're going to look just as good as they do now, because we're not going to get a lot of the movement that when they have the separation of the tennis courts, plus they had the poles that were in the middle, there was always some place that had infiltration. I'll give you a good example. If you walk on this sidewalk out here, you don't see the heaving that we had years before. There's one crack, and I noticed it on the way in, so you'll see caulk all over the joints there. So there's one crack out there that we'll take care of this summer, but you're not going to see the heaving that we used to see the other years. And the same thing with the tennis court. There's no place for that water to penetrate underneath that. They'll stay stable during the winter months. And I think the last one, and I asked Michelle to print out the color copy for you. These are the safety lights that we've been talking about. And this would go out, when you see the one that says speed limit 20 miles an hour, I don't know if you got to that one yet.
Yep.
That would go just after railroad tracks and just before or just after Catherine Street coming from, so at least at dusk during, during the fall, we'll have those lights going off for people will be able to know that, geez, there's a school up ahead.
Yeah.
What we're doing is we're having a test done on the solar capability. They think it's going to be a problem down by the railroad tracks, but up by Catherine Road, not a problem for solar. If it has to go to putting the meter on it, it's going to cost a little bit more money, and there's also a maintenance issue.
Is it something that, at that end, the tree company can do something with from like?
Yeah, I think it's, I think the concern that they had, the company that does this, it's getting National Grid, getting Verizon, getting all those guys, all those players that are responsible. Who's going to pay the fee to cut the trees back? So to answer your question, they run into it all over the place, and it's difficult to get that project done where the trees are cut back. The next one, the blinking sign flashing, that would be this one right here. We have 2 locations for crosswalks, and we have two different systems we're looking at. This has 2, 4, 6, 8 yellow lights that blink, and that's solar power. And there is another one that has a bar that's along the bottom. We're trying to figure out which one's the better of the 2. What will happen with this, there's 2 different ways we could do it. We could do it with oncoming traffic or a push button. So when the kids cross the street now, they cross the street. There's nothing that anybody coming from any direction gives them any idea that they're coming across. And again, the important time is at dusk in the fall. They'll push a button and those lights will flash just like that.
I would have to think
You get these
you'd
down.
want motion, not push button.
There's an option for motion.
Yeah,
It's an option. So
if it's
I
at all
talked to the,
affordable.
I talked to the track coach and let them know what we're looking at. And here's the second one. It's got the library in the background. That's the second one. And what that has is, see the red? It has 2 lights below it. They flash off and on when somebody's crossing the road.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, this model, I think that's the ones they put up near the railroad stations,
Correct.
all the crosswalks.
Yep.
I mean, you can really see them from quite a distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a concern in the town, or by some townspeople, and I notice you have it here under the school district, mosquito spraying
Yep.
and bug spraying and what's been occurring. You had mentioned something about some wetlands being filled?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was a month ago, Plymouth County, they hire contractors, plus they do it themselves. They go into areas that have standing water.
Yeah.
And they fill them in. You put an excavator in the woods and they fill them in. They did that, but when it comes to Plymouth County, we depend on them for mosquito control. They don't do ticks. They don't do tick spraying, but they do mosquito control. We are on their schedule for June 6th. Now, what that means is we have to put the application into DEP. We fill out a form. Plymouth County's on that list. We tell them when we're doing it, how we're doing it. We put the application into the state, and we send it to Plymouth County. And then they notify us. Then this is the process we go through.
On?
Say it rains that night. Well, their spraying's not going to work. Say it rains on the 5th. We're on the 6th. But say it rains on the 5th, the people they were going to do on the 5th now gets kicked to the 6th. What we have to do is then we have to reapply, so when there's a date that's specific that we've asked to have it sprayed, nobody can be on the fields, they have to be off the fields. So there's a bit of a complication, but we put the application in, and we'll see what happens. We go through this all the time.
Nobody should do a rain dance prior.
Right. But we go through this all the time with turf field. If you notice, we had some nice yellow flowers out on the field out there. We spray weed control in the fall to avoid those plants from coming up in the spring. And we had to cancel that twice because of rain.
Okay.
So that explain your mosquito question?
Yeah, just, we're at the mercy of Plymouth County,
Well, Plymouth County does not spray for ticks.
and they don't spray for ticks.
No. Only mosquitoes.
It's mosquitoes.
All the bugs are bad this
Yeah.
year.
We've worked with them every year, and every year's a new adventure.
So do we treat for ticks?
We don't. Again, Mike, if there is a chemical, we'd have to register it with the state.
Yeah, right.
And then we have to find a time that we can spray the fields.
Okay.
Or we'd have to hire it out and,
Even that, we still,
Yeah.
So you still have to
Yeah.
Because that
notify the
question
state
came
of
up
what
today
we're
with the
doing.
town field.
Did it?
Spray for ticks on the town field.
Yeah.
Oh, you?
be a mortgage payment
Come
anyway.
on in.
Probably, and then some.
Crazy. Anybody else have anything to come before the board? An entertained motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
thank you.
We're done.
Okay, thank you.
We're good, Jen. Good evening, and welcome to the school committee meeting of May 10th, 2017. I would like to remind everyone this meeting is being broadcast live. It is also being recorded for use at another date if needed, so keep that in mind this evening. If anyone is going to plan on speaking, please come to the podium, state your name, so everybody knows who you are and everyone can hear. So, as we start our meetings, I would please ask you to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Also, would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you all for coming this evening. It's great to see everyone here. I'd like to remind everyone, because sometimes as I move along through the agenda, I forget these things. This is National Teachers Appreciation Week. So I'd like to thank all the teachers that are here this evening, and not just the teachers that are here, but the teachers that aren't here, and everyone that's a teacher in the United States, and administrators. They do a fabulous job. Without education, I don't know where this country would be. So I'd like to thank all of them and congratulate them. Thank you very much. We need to approve the minutes of April 12th, 2017.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. A student advisor will not be with us this evening, so we're going to move right past the student advisor's report. I'd like you to remember these dates as we move forward. May 18th is Art and Bloom at the high school library at 5:30. May 20th is town elections. May 22nd is a school committee reorganization meeting. It's on a Monday evening at 7 p.m. right here in the library. May 26th is the last day of school for high school seniors. May 31st is Senior Awards Night, 6:30, right here at the high school. June 1st is the Community Evening School Commencement at 6 p.m. It starts here in the library and ends up in the Performing Arts Center. June 2nd is high school commencement. School committee meets in central office upstairs, and then we go to the gym. In June 6, 2017, for school committee members or anyone else that would like to go, it's a Kiwanis celebration at 6:30 p.m. here in the Performing Arts Center. For any of those that would like to go to that. It's for student athletes and some student achievements, and it's always a very nice evening. So if you would like to attend, I think school committee members need to tell Michelle. Michelle, is that correct? And she'll put you on so everybody knows that you're there that evening. Any questions? Okay. Superintendent's report.
Okay, we're going to be, what we've done throughout the school year is when we've started our school committee meetings, we've done a variety of things highlighting the achievements of our students, positive things that happen in the school district. Well, over April vacation, we had a high school trip that went to Switzerland and to Italy. And there was an accident on the trip, and that accident brought forth all sorts of the need for us to be able to say a great big thank you to all of the chaperones, the parents, the students, everyone who was there, so that that trip ended up with a happy ending. And so tonight we wanted to really recognize and thank every single person who was on that trip. When you sign up to do a trip, you don't really know what's going to happen, but what did happen was just a tremendous outpouring of caring, taking care of our students, the one that was hurt, as well as everybody else, so that we got through the trip. And when I do talk to people who were on the trip, they say it was a good experience. So we really want to just express our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you. And if those of you who were on the trip, if you could just stand up so we could just give you a round of applause and one big thank you. And I did ask Mr. Davidson, because he was the tour leader, if he'd just make a few comments this evening.
Good evening, everybody. Bob Davidson, History Director and leader of the trip, as Ruth said. I'd just like to share with you some things I usually say to parents when we meet before these meetings. I usually look out in the pack and it's filled, and I tell people, very honestly, it's humbling to see the amount of trust that parents place in the adults in these trips. And I just want to echo that sentiment again tonight. And echo what Dr. Whitner said. Many, many thanks to all the chaperones and all the adults on the trip from the bottom of my heart. It really was a great experience. I really appreciate everything that everyone did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I think a special thanks to Mr. Davidson himself. It's a tremendous responsibility going on trips, and he just does a wonderful job of ensuring that our students get to see the world. They do a lot of work beforehand, and kids could not be in better hands than when they go with a trip with Mr. Davidson. So thank you all for coming this evening. We just thank you for being here, and also for just caring so very much about each and every one of our students. Thank you. And you were going to move to the graduation, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take my report out of order, and Mr. Simonak's going to talk about high school graduation.
Thank you, Dr. Whitner. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Hayes kind of stole my thunder by sharing all those important dates, and they are important dates coming up with graduation. I just want to let the committee know that I've already had a conversation with our seniors about this last month and expectations and making good choices. Everybody knows this is a very exciting time, and sometimes students go a little bit, they push the limits a little bit and make poor choices around this time. Graduation, commencement, prom. We have prom coming up. So we laid out some expectations for them. Also talked about the senior assassin game. I don't know if you've read the newspaper. Channel 5 actually did a story on the senior assassin game where some students got into some serious trouble. The senior assassin game is using water guns and trying to take seniors out along the way. We have said it's not school-sponsored. We can't do anything on school campus. Students aren't allowed to bring their guns, anything like that, to any event on campus during the school day or after. And it was important to have that dialogue, and I think the students understood that. So I just want to review those dates for you again. Seniors' last day of class is really is the 26th. The prom, and that includes 3 days of exams. The prom is at Granite Links this year. The banquet is at Halifax Country Club on the 30th. The Scholarship and Awards Night, which is a great evening, is on the 31st. The baccalaureate is on the 1st, and that coincides with the SEAT Community Evening School graduation, which is held in the Performing Arts Center. And we have graduation the next day on the 2nd at 6 p.m. promptly. Hopefully we'll be out by 7:59. And the MVP award ceremony is on the 6th, that following Tuesday. The reason I really wanted to address the committee about graduation this year, other than just sharing those dates, I had a couple of parents come to me last week and say, can you relook at the way we do admission to commencement? I was quite honest with them, saying that I don't know how it flows, what the line is with traffic. Once 4:30 hits, I'm with kids in the cafeteria, getting them ready, and as I shared before, it's the best day, and it's really the best hour and a half I spend with seniors, because everybody's excited, everybody's smiling. There are some tears, and there are cheers of joy, and there are some really high fives for students that were on the bubble, and they made it. So it's a really good experience. So I was candid with the two parents and said, I don't know what the experience is like, and they said it's awful. They said people stand in line, they get here, and I challenge that. They get here after 1:40, but there are people in line from 1:40 to 5 o'clock. We open the doors at 5 o'clock, and people come in. We've had general admission seating for as long as I've been here, and this is going to be my 7th graduation. And again, seeing what goes on, I don't see that process. I see the exit and wait in line to exit, but I don't see the entrance. I've been told from some parents it's okay, because they don't mind. They bring their chair, and it's a great thing. They're here at 2 o'clock, they get their seats, and they're ready to go. Okay? So what I did was I told the parents that I would do some due diligence and investigate and have some conversations. So I met with Dave Fleck and Siobhan Horton, who really coordinate the ceremony. I facilitate, they coordinate. And those of you that know Siobhan takes great pride in that ceremony. I then met with Ernie Sandlin and said, what do we have? What do I have on the floor? How many chairs do I have? What does Chief Thompson say we can do? And Ernie laid it out. And he said, I can give you 1,700 chairs on the floor. That's what Chief says. There's another 500 or 600 occupancy on the floor, standing room, but we can't block certain areas. And upstairs, we have almost 900 folks that we can put on the track, total track, okay? I then spoke to Dr. Whitner and had a brief conversation with Mr. Hayes. I also asked my South Shore principal group what they do for graduation. And I looked at schools that are about the same size as us, and what do they do for indoor graduation? Pembroke is one of the few schools that just does indoor, as we are one of the few that just does indoor. And that came from a decision prior to me being here. Other schools our size do it outside, but in case of rain, they give out tickets, and that's it. You get what you get, and there's no general admission. So Duxbury, who's about our size, graduating class of 250 to 300, 3 tickets. Situate is 3. Pembroke is 3 to 5, depending upon their graduation size. Hingham is 3. Abington is 6, but they graduate 125 kids a year. Foxborough has no limit. Hanover does 4 for 175 kids. Weymouth does 2. Their graduating class is usually around 400. Silver Lake is about our size, 200 to 300. They do 3. Rockland is about 150. They do 2. So I looked at that data, and I said, so how can we make it better for parents? The parents have a valid issue. Can we make it better? And I don't know if we can make it better. So I looked at a few things. Can we do tickets? How many tickets can we actually do and accommodate the size of our gymnasium with spillover into the Performing Arts Center and upstairs? So I came up with 2 scenarios, other than just remaining the same. I came up with I just want to back up. Our graduating class hopefully will be about 280. We might have a couple drop-offs in that process, but around 280. Based upon 280 graduates, 30 of us on stage, 60 faculty, which I usually get between 50 and 60, 72 to 75 in the band and chorus, and 50 to 60 50-year grads based upon the area that they come. My recommendation, I have a few. We could stay the same as we are. I could give out 4 tickets for families, or I could give out 2 tickets for families. If I gave out 4 tickets for families, I would have them come in the main office door from 4:45 to 5:30. Ticketed people only there. At 5:30, all ticketed people must be in their seats, because then I would open the doors at 5:30 to 6 o'clock for general admission. We could do that, okay? How I would monitor that, I would work with our school resource officer and a couple of teachers. I could do that. Would we still have lines? I'm pretty sure we would. We would have some people up here. We might minimize that piece. Or I could do 2 tickets. I could give each senior 2 tickets and reserve 600 chairs for parents only for those 2 tickets. That might be more challenging for me to administer based upon a couple of conversations I had with kids saying, Ms. Simon, if you gave that to me, my mom and dad don't like each other. How do I choose? Okay, and that was a very candid conversation. How do I choose? My stepmom and stepdad, I love them both, and they wouldn't be able to sit together. So I have to take that into account. So I could do 2 or 4 based upon the research that I did with my other schools. We're a little bit above that. And we also have the overflow of the Performing Arts Center for someone who wanted to sit and watch it live, because we stream it live. And we also have upstairs. So I look at making a modification that I think would be equitable, although I'm not sure in the end if some people would still be pretty irritated with me because they like the general admission piece. I still think we'd have lines. I still think they might be minimal, but I can guarantee a seat, maybe not together, but I could probably guarantee a seat for 4 people in a family. My issue would be around reserved seating. If a family decided to take 6, I don't know if I have the policing, and I use that word lightly, because I'll only have 1 person inside as a detail officer to make sure that doesn't happen. So it would be more on the honor system. And families might not be able to sit together. But at 5:30, the expectation would be those main doors open and all bets are off. Any seat that's open is a seat that someone can sit in. Anywhere that's standing room, and I know I watch a lot of dads up top, and they like to walk. I'd like to walk, and the view from up top is wonderful. And I also wanted to remind parents, because I know this is an issue, that during the commencement ceremony, we have 2 professional photographers on each side that take a picture with the school committee folks that hand out the diploma, a shot of the diploma, and then a shot of the student walking away. But we've always allowed parents to come up front for individual pictures right there. So we keep that. And I think it's a good, happy meeting. It's worth a shot. And I'm asking the committee to support that recommendation. And I'm very happy that the folks have brought this to my attention, because I actually told the parents that I've had a couple people call, "You don't do tickets, why don't you do tickets?" And I said, "We have never had," and I've never gotten a complaint. And I've never gotten a parent after graduation saying that there was something wrong. People tell me a lot of things that are wrong, but never after commencement. Usually they're happy their student graduated and they just want to go. They paid their bill and they're all set. So I'm bringing that in front of the committee just to say, and I know the parents, there's some parents here, but it's something that did some due diligence and I didn't have an answer for them right up front. And I wanted to bring it in front of the committee because you're on stage and you have to deal with community members and things like that. There are some community members, since we're open, sometimes come here and they watch the graduation. They've been here, they see a great-grandson, or they coached a kid or whatever, but we're still giving them an opportunity to go, but we're not going to guarantee them a seat. And if it goes well, I think that's something we can start. The other piece around graduation is I did ask Ernie Sandlin to start investigating, just as we start the process, maybe looking at going outdoors again. And that's far away, but just looking at the process. As we just open the door to begin a dialogue about how we can do things differently, either making them better and tweaking them along the way. So my recommendation would be to move to the 4 tickets for this year with the separate entrances. And I would love the committee to endorse that recommendation.
Robbie?
Thank you. Bravo, Jeff. Really. I know this has weighed heavily on you this past week because I got quite a few phone calls and emails about it and kept Bob in the loop on it. Thank you very much for doing your due diligence with it. So for one committee member, it's very much appreciated. I'll make a motion for what Jeff recommended, that we do 4 tickets for the students with a separate entrance, starting at what time?
I would start them, see, and the recommendation, which was a great suggestion from a parent, is we bring the seniors in 15 minutes early too. And they would bring them in. You know, and I can have a few seniors wandering around. It might eliminate some parking issues. I'm not sure. Again, I don't know. And I don't, it's hard for me to make a recommendation when I don't visually see it. So this is out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah.
But I'm basing it upon information that I have and that I've collected and taking a shot, you know what I mean? And trusting that people are honest when they're in the building. And sometimes that's hard to trust. I'm not putting students in positions to take tickets. I'm not putting students in positions to make judgments for adults. That's not comfortable for me, and it's not comfortable for kids. So I'm going to have to look at who I can get to monitor. And as the committee knows, I'm pretty short-staffed anyway. So we'll look at it and make it work. And that's how I like to operate. If things aren't there, bring it to my attention. We'll look at some things. Sometimes we can't. And maybe next year this doesn't work and we go back to something. Or we look at differences. But I would say 4:45 for ticketed, 4:45 to 5:30. That should be sufficient time to get people into those areas. The other thing we do during graduation, if you haven't attended, is we have 2 screens on either side, and we show senior pictures and slides during the whole time. So there's something to look at, and hopefully it just won't be a 95-degree day. It's been relatively good. Maybe we can get some of this weather there. But there's something to do. But if those ticketed folks are seated at 5:30, it would be hugely beneficial for the rest of us so that there isn't bickering. That's the one concern I have, is bickering and issues during commencement, because I don't have anybody to make decisions because I'm in the back. So my 3 guys, the 3 of us and coordinators are in the back, so I can't put out any fires that are out front. I'm trusting other folks to do it, and that's another uncomfortable position to be in because my administrative team is wrapped up.
I want to second that before we move too far.
Yeah, somebody second it, and we'll go into discussion. Fred?
So, I'm just trying to understand the process. So each senior would receive 4 tickets?
So on Wednesday, the first day of rehearsal, we'll give them 4 tickets, okay? If they need those 4 tickets, that's great. If they don't need them, I would ask them on Thursday to return them to the office at the next rehearsal, a quick turnaround, so that they don't go up on eBay. I've seen it. It happens in Pembroke.
Yes, it
Okay?
does.
That's one of the issues around tickets, is on Pembroke Connect, it's like I'm selling, I have extras, how much? Okay? Because Pembroke does it inside, all the time, and their gym is small. So, yeah, you know, that, and if they didn't have it, they can return them, but they have 4.
And it's still a general admission ticket, not a reserve.
There's not a reserve seat. No, 1,700 chairs, I can't mark them up, and I'd have no, so you're pretty much guaranteed a seat,
It's just early
or
entrance.
space.
Yeah, early entrance.
And you know what, and if someone doesn't want to sit, that's okay.
Yeah.
They just don't have to be in the general admin line, they can come in early. If they want to walk around, that's fine. That's why I said, open, once 5:30 hits, and I would, again, say, you have a seat, sit in that seat, because somebody's going to take it.
Ally?
Back in my day when I graduated Whitman-Hanson, we were given 4 tickets. And whoever got those 4 tickets, you went into the auditorium, and the overflow went into the Performing Arts Center back in the day. And it always worked out well.
Gymnasium to Performing Arts Center, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever it was called back then.
Yeah, and you know what, last year, I think 6 or 7 folks were in the Performing Arts Center in the AC, because we do it live there. The most traction gets upstairs, because you can move around, and especially if you bring a little kid, or if you're a walker like I am, I like to just pace around and move around. So, and I can put almost 1,000 folks upstairs.
Dan?
I think you just answered my question was, have we used the performing arts?
Yeah, it's open, it's never full, and we haven't had a 100-degree day, but we look at it for senior citizens or people that have breathing issues or just don't like the heat. They can watch it live, and it's streamed. And and the other piece is, it's going live in the gymnasium on the 2 screens, so even if you have a bad seat, our video folks do a great job of making sure everybody gets little pictures and throughout the whole ceremony. So it's just not on the podium, it's snapshots of everybody. The other piece I just wanted to shout out about graduation is, we do have our selected student speaker, and Sophie O'Brien is our student speaker this year, that voted by the class officers. And that's just another piece that we put in a couple years ago that I think has some true meaning to it.
Jeff go ahead, Chris.
Just, I guess, something to consider. So I know at least one email that came through, someone had suggested maybe putting together, and I kind of hate this, so I think it would need to be a defined scope, the word subcommittee, but maybe just putting together a small group, including some parents, getting together before this graduation, and then continuing it on to kind of get that feedback loop, especially if you're going to be thinking about moving it to outside next year. Getting a group, maybe meeting once before, getting the feedback. Like you said, you have very limited eyes on the event. They'll certainly be there. Maybe find someone that's got a student this year and a little further along, that type of thing, to try and build out that process maybe a little bit more effectively for the
Valid suggestion. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Jeff, have been to 14 commencement exercises at this district. It's been about half and half for rain. The rain issue becomes a problem for Mr. Sandler. As we know, we had 2 or 3 years where we were holding umbrellas in the pouring rain. Kids were walking off the stage and falling in the mud on the field before it was turf, and we were catching them. I guess I know exactly what you're doing. I happen to be one of the school committee members that's out trying to keep the peace. If you're going to give 4 tickets to these students, you have to give an instruction letter to the parents that the student makes sure the parents get. Because when the parents, or not all parents are as tentative as you may think, and you probably know that. They come at 6 o'clock and go, hey, I've got 2 tickets. Where am I sitting? And there's not a seat in the house. They go, I've got 2 tickets.
The letter will be bold in red, and it'll be, I'll tweet it out as we go. And we can actually do some live tweets as we go forward, saying, you know what, if you're not here, it's staying in the room already, 5:30.
Not all of us tweet.
I'm just saying,
We know.
it doesn't always get to the parents. It's not the parents' fault. The students don't always get that to the parents. And I know it because we did tickets back when this building was new, was brand new, which was 12 years ago. And there was 6 of them, half dozen of the other people lost tickets. How'd you keep track of it? I lost my tickets, I need 4 more. And then I lost my tickets and I need 4 more. And it became, there's other problems that go along with tickets. I'm not totally against it, but I am a little bit.
That's my concern.
The problem is, I'm in that gym and I see what happens, even at the 5 o'clock when the line happens to go in, 2 people block out 15 seats. And then it's who polices them. As you said, Siobhan is running around. That night, we all have walkie-talkies, and Michelle has been here. It turns into craziness, because things happen, with students, with everything. So I'm just cautioning that point. You're going to need more people to be out in the trenches figuring out the saving, because it's going to happen. It's not maybe will it happen, could it happen? It's 100% going to happen.
That's why I put out that publicly, and I know we're public. It's got to be honorable. And I'm trusting that the people of Whitman-Hanson are honorable, and I know things are going to happen, but I'm putting it out there, that I'm trusting in the parents to make good choices, like I've told their kids, around graduation time. And we're going to try this, or hopefully try this, and it's effective. And I look at the little bugs, and those are the little things that creep in the back of my head, saying, how do I do this, and how do I do this, and how do I... That's why I'm nervous about the 2, because I don't want to have a senior make a choice between mom and dad. And that's one of my issues. And we're doing it 4. We have big families. We have this. And 4, it's going to be standing on money for some folks. So if we can move forward, but I hear absolutely what you said.
I mean, outside's a perfect storm, but Ernie knows what it's like. You set everything up outside, and then the weather changes, and we've got some inside. The cost, it's cost prohibitive. That's why we kind of went to the inside rather than rolling the dice. I mean, we were inside one year. Quick story. I'm running I'm a few minutes late. I charge up front. It's beautiful. I've got the roof down on my wife's car. Beautiful. I pull out up front. I park because I'm a few minutes late. I'm sitting inside with Pam Gould, and the lights blinked in this beautiful building. And I said, Pam, what's up with that? She goes, Bob, take a look outside. It was raining so hard, by the time I got out to put the roof back up, I opened the door and the water just poured out of the car.
June of 2007, my first graduation. I was outside.
So what I'm saying is the weather changes like this.
And that's, but again, I go back to doing due diligence and working with Ernie and making a decision, or going through it. I lived through 2 in the pouring rain outside. And as a principal, making the decision, if we go in or out, I can't win, especially if the sun comes out and, the weatherman said it's going to be 100% chance of rain, and it's beautiful out. So those are the things I want to vet, and with Mr. Howard's suggestion with a small committee, and just, push it out a little bit.
I would add, put it out on the cable access also, the notification.
Okay.
For people
Oh, yeah,
that
great idea.
get it. They run it all the time.
Thank you.
Good point. Very good point.
Pardon me?
The Whitman-Hanson Express, putting an ad in there would be a good idea.
Tracy,
too.
could you,
Tracy will do it.
if it's voted, any further discussion? And Jeff, I guess, Robbie, your motion was to give 4 tickets.
To the seniors, yep.
Could you add this to your motion? I'm not going to change it, but to be looked at year to year.
Oh, yeah. Yep, that's fine. To be looked at annually.
Second.
So that's the motion.
Yep. So 4 tickets to the seniors to be reviewed annually.
Mr. Boyce, that's your second?
That's my second, yes, sir.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simon.
Okay, thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Thank you, Jeff.
On May 1st, we had town meetings in both towns. I'm happy to report that the operating budget passed in both towns unanimously. We had one question, I believe, in Whitman. I don't even think there was a question in Hanson. And the good news about this is it represents a 3.15 increase in the operating budget. This current school year, we have a 3% increase in the budget. And if you look at the numbers over the last 6 years, and that's including the 3% of this year, our average increase had only been 1%. So I think this is a positive move for Whitman-Hanson. It is a level services budget. There is still plenty more room for us to go. As you know, at the last meeting on April 12th, there was an agreement in working with town officials to have a meeting on June, I believe, 12th, for the purpose of really looking forward to the next fiscal year's budget so that we can begin ahead of time to try and move beyond level services. But I just want to thank the communities of Whitman-Hanson for their support. Even though the budget's up just over 3%, the tax increase was impressive. Over 10% in Whitman, over 6% in Hanson, and that's with no override. We've never seen that, and I just think we all should feel very energized, and committee very good about working hard on behalf of students. Also at town meetings, we had numerous warrant articles that were on the warrants in both towns for capital items. And Christine, could you just give, I know you have that information as we talked about it, just give the committee and those who are here this evening a sense of that as well.
Okay, well, here at the high school, we just over $566,265 that will be split 60-40 between Whitman and Hanson. It's the turf field, some roadway repairs out here, blinking lights before you enter the school, some EFS work here, and 2 hot water heater replacements here, as well as a hybrid van that was purchased for school lunch for deliveries between the different buildings, of which 5,000 of that, Maureen McKenzie actually applied for a green grant and got. So in Whitman, 86,000. We're looking at the Whitman Middle School gym floor, bleachers at the Whitman Middle School, card access to Duval, Conley, and the Whitman Middle School, address the fixing playgrounds at all 3 schools, Duval, Conley, and Whitman Middle School, and to fix the sidewalks at Duval. At Hanson, they appropriate $168,317, which at Hanson Middle School, they're going to recommission the HVAC system, card access at Indian Head and Hanson Middle School, industrial ceiling fans at Indian Head and Hanson Middle School, security cameras at Indian Head, replace the rooftop unit at Indian Head above the kitchen, and to remove original ceiling at Indian Head.
I think that's fantastic. Thank you, Christine, and I think we say thank you to our taxpayers as well. This was very generous. I think it allows us to be proactive in taking good care of the buildings that we have and really moving forward. So one of the challenges for us is that we do have town meetings simultaneously, and we can't get to all of them, so we have to divide up, and we're texting back and forth to see what happens. But I don't think we could be more pleased with the results, and I think it's very energizing as we move forward to continue to try to do what's very best for our students. So thank you to everyone for your many efforts in believing in Whitman-Hanson and in our students. One of the things that was also voted on April 12th was the closing of the McQuon School, and we're beginning to organize what that's going to look like. And I asked Pat Dillon, who's working closely with me on that, if he could just give you an overview of where we are in the process.
Sure. So a couple areas we've already looked at. The first one is the leadership oversight. So obviously it's critical that we maintain the proper leadership presence in both buildings, McQuon and Indian Head, during the transition and to closure of McQuon. Currently there's 4 administrators. There will be 4 administrators to support the student, staff, and parents. We're working right now to finalize an internal experienced interim administrator to fill the gap, because there will be a gap at the end of this year. We've made some pretty good progress with that, but it's not quite finalized, so
we'll let you know.
We'll let you know on that. The second part of the transition plan is we looked at the leadership responsibilities. So 5th into Hanson Middle, that will obviously be a role of Bill Tranter's in his evaluation and his set of goals next year. The McQuon to Indian Head piece, Dr. Wilcox will most likely own that. Again, supported by a cast of thousands, but we do need to identify the people who are responsible for the success of that portion of the transition. And then there's the preschool and the special ed programs. Kyle Riley's coming in July to replace Dr. Quilly, so we're not going to do anything with that. We have done a good bit of work looking at where the preschool might go. We've looked at the high school and the Duval School, the pros and cons of each. Dr. Quilly did a nice summary for the superintendent. That's about where it's at right now. Absolutely no decision has been made on where it goes, but those two are the most likely places for the preschool. And again, there's a whole set of special ed programs that we need to look at. Kyle Riley will be the administrator who is responsible for that portion of the transition. Again, those three leaders who are responsible for those kind of high-level portions of the transition, they're supported by the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, and all the functional organizations. Chad's group, IT, Ernie's group plays a huge role in the facilities part of it. And then the last piece of the planning so far is, you know, our intent is to spend the summer to actually document the plan. So it's our goal to spend a good portion of the summer focused on those three big areas of transition. Also, an output of that will be a parallel communication plan, because it's essential that as we're doing this planning and we're starting to execute on the transition, we're communicating effectively, because we can do the transition effectively, but if people don't know about it, that can cause some concerns. So that's kind of a high-level overview of what we've done so far, and I'll answer any questions.
I was just going to, and you actually kind of just hit on with the communication plan. Have you guys had any meetings yet with the staff at Indian Head or McQuon?
No, we want to make sure we have an understanding of what the leadership is going to look like.
Okay.
I would imagine that should be finalized within the next week or so.
Excellent, okay.
But we had to get back from April vacation and have some
Just, I mean,
conversations.
as I'm
but-
sure you guys are aware, there's anxiety.
Of course
in
there
both
are.
schools with the
Yeah,
staff and things like that.
exactly, but that should be I would think that's forthcoming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Anyone else? Chris?
Just, you hit on the communication plan, so what would be the target for the first communication?
Probably
External.
external would be a validation of which leaders are responsible for which portion of the transition, how to communicate to those individuals. I mean, I think that's the biggest key. I think we'll see a good bit of need to communicate, especially if there's any impact to the special ed programs, if they have to move schools outside of Indian Head, which I think there's a likelihood that would happen. So really being able to communicate who they can speak with, I think that's the big. I think we'll also have a tentative schedule of like transitions. I mean, it's not all going to happen September of 2018.
Right.
I mean, I think there are things that will happen along the year. To communicate probably a set of sessions where people can physically come in and ask questions.
Excellent.
So again,
But you think that would happen fall?
fall,
Okay.
right. I think we have the responsibility to organize and structure the plan this summer, present it to you all so that you all can give us guidance and feedback.
Right.
We can tighten that plan up, and then I see shortly thereafter us starting to do that communication.
Thank you.
Fred?
Furniture and fixtures. I'm going to go into the assumption that quite a bit's going to be declared surplus. Just to hope that a transition plan would include the residents of Hanson being able to, have priority, desks, et cetera.
Yeah.
There could be things that could be useful to some students at their homes.
So that's a great point. I don't think we've gotten to that level of depth, but I will tell you that Ernie's already started to have conversations about what that physical transition might look like and what the support requirements would be for that. So that will absolutely be one of the outcomes of that next level of detail. But we're a little higher on the planning than that.
And then what do we have for other fixtures, whiteboards, et cetera, and ways to
Yeah,
store them?
we've had some initial conversations with Chad and what that might look like to transition the technology and stuff, so, yeah, it's a very good point.
Bob?
Having lived through a transition such as that years ago, when we
Age
moved,
diff-
when we moved the 6th grade to 7th grade, there was a transition very similar to that, not quite as big as a transition. But I found it very important that the staff be involved. I think it's a good idea to let them walk through their classroom space to see what that looks like, potential schedules, duties. Parents, like you said, need to be informed. I know in our particular case, we had to buy new furniture because some of the furniture was just too old and wasn't worth keeping. Positioning of like whiteboards or whatever thing you transition to classrooms, storage areas, because sometimes when you go into a classroom and you don't have the ability to say, I think they should go here, they'll come in and just slap it up any place you want. And then that doesn't create a very good flow for your classroom. I know that there was anxiety, but we had several people who were on a committee such as you're talking about, and then informed the staff, and it pretty much went pretty smooth. I know that we had all of our materials put in storage on site where they were moving. I believe the custodians had us pack our stuff up in boxes, and then they moved it, stored it, relabeled it, and then it was delivered to our classrooms, and then we kind of did. And that's also a good way for teachers to throw stuff out they haven't used for maybe 10, 15 years. It gets buried in the back of your file cabinets. But I think it's a difficult thing, but it can be simplified, providing that, as you said, the communication is well broadcast and everybody knows what to expect. And as far as the students go, as I said earlier, they're pretty resilient. And there may be a few hiccups the first couple of days, but I think in the case that you're talking about, they all know one another. When we did our transition, we had them from 6 or 7 elementary schools all coming into a new situation, and that created some problems. But so I think all in all, it'll probably go smoother, but that's just some of the background that I had, because I did go through that.
Pat, when we transitioned from the high school, that building to this building, as you know, everything was brand new. Everything came in here brand new. And that's not going to be the case when we transition out of McQuon. But there's going to be surplus of stuff. So we probably should look at it, because what we did here, Ruth, you remember this, we had a 3-day yard sale.
That's great.
Out after school had gotten, and everything, the teachers had moved in, and they had to figure out what they had to take from the old building, and they had some extra time. And everybody was like, we're in the building. We're good. The stuff is surplus, because obviously we're going to have a lot of stuff in McQuon that's going to have to get out of the building when we hand it back to the town. But I'm sure the town is not going to worry about a month or 2 when we make the transition, so we'll have some time. So we might want to think about some of that, because we're going to have that facility to transition out of, because we're going to have a ton of stuff in McQuon. Bob hit it right on the head. Stuff that's been stored away in places that it's already been declared kind of surplus, but it got put in the boiler room, it got put, for use at a later date, so to speak, to save the taxpayers some money, and it just never get used. So some of that transitioning, as you know, Robbie, you've been over in that building.
At least there's no science lab. Usually there's issues with science labs and chemicals laying around.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's no science lab.
So I think if communication has got to be the key word in that transition. So. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Pat. I wanted to report to you all on our English Language Learner Program. As you know, we've been talking about it off and on throughout the school year, but I felt it was important for the committee to understand the changes that we've seen just over the past year. When we ended last school year, we had a very small number of English Language Learner students. At this point in time, we have 42 students identified as English Language Learners. So this is a jump from about 10 to 42 in 1 year. When I have met with other superintendents, we actually talked about this at a meeting last week, many school districts are seeing the same thing happen. We also are held to standards by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education in terms of the amount of time our students are supposed to have, the procedures we're supposed to go through in terms of identifying them. So this year, we started the year with one ESL teacher, and we had to add a second one. And this is a young man, Michael Caponigro, who has been working largely at Whitman Middle School, which has one of our larger populations, and also at the schools in Hanson, which tend to have smaller populations. Just to give you a breakdown, at this point in time, there are 42 English language learners. 12 of them are classified as FEL, which means former English language learner. So as they go through the program, they're tested a lot. There's a test called the Access Test, and it looks at their levels of proficiency in a number of areas. So over time, the goal, of course, is to move to proficiency in the use of English language in academic settings. Once a student has passed through the program and has met those proficiencies, we then are required to monitor them for up to 4 years. If they graduate, of course, you don't have to do it, but for 4 years after they're declared that. So there really is a tremendous amount that needs to go into an English language learner program. Just to break it down for you, of the students that we have, 28 of these students speak Portuguese, primarily Brazilian Portuguese as a first language. We have 2 French speakers, 5 Spanish, 2 Arabic, 3 Gujarati, which is an Indian dialect, 1 Tagalog, which is from the Philippines, and 1 Polish. One of the pluses is that one of our ESL teachers is Brazilian Portuguese, so that certainly helps with some of the language problems, particularly when we're talking to parents. The other thing that's happened with English language learners in the last probably 18 months is that school districts, and we have a very small percentage, but school districts are getting students who have been undereducated when they come to school. So this year we had a student come fairly recently, 18 years old, wanting to enroll in school with the equivalent of a 7th grade education. Now at Whitman-Hanson, that's a huge challenge because the student, when it's a high school diploma, we determined that student would probably be 23 or 24 when that was actually accomplished. Fortunately, we were able to work with the Brockton Public Schools, who would love to have a program like ours. They have over 100 different languages and many programs, and in working in partnership with them, they are able to provide services for that student. She's going to live with her grandmother. It will work. But there are many, many challenges that go along with this. There is federal money for English language learner programs, but you have to have 100 or more students in your English language learner program. As I told you, we have 42. Fortunately, because of our relationship with North River Collaborative, they write grants on our behalf, and they include the other member school districts giving a number of more than 100. And as a result, we have had resources available this year for parent meetings, as well as for tutoring after school and on weekends, and there's going to be money available this summer. And I know Michael, one of our teachers, is going to be available this summer to work with those students. But I thought as a school committee, it's important for you to see how there are changing demographics, and students will come to us. We have a student who came here this year practically fluent in English. So that's a level 3 or level 4 student. We have other students coming here who speak absolutely no English at all. And one of the other concerns that comes with the program is that there's huge transiency. We have 2 students who came to us this fall. I got a letter from the parent that they've already moved to another community. Could they stay with us till the end of the school year? So these students also, in addition to having language challenges, have to deal with in and out of different schools. We have one student who, by the time he got to us in October, had already been in 3 high schools in this school year. So it's an interesting challenge. We're called a low incidence district. Our 2 teachers are going to a program tomorrow for low incidence districts, and we'll come back with information. So just thought it was important for you to know that. Those are changing demographics, and we're doing the best we can with the resources we have. There are not a lot of licensed ESL teachers out there as well either. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer. Okay, we'll keep you posted on it, but it's something that's a real change over what we've done.
If it's any consolation, Ruth, in Brockton, we have 53 different languages.
I know. And the issues that we have are minor compared to theirs. Absolutely. The next piece is it's that time in the year for me to review my goals with you. You have envelopes that Michelle put together, thank you, for doing my evaluation. I will review the goals for you, and we do have our reorganization meeting on the 20th of May, so if you could return them to Michelle prior to that, that would be terrific. Really appreciate it. If you have any questions when you're going through it, we're happy to answer those. So for this school year, there were 4 goals. These are all linked directly to our strategic plan. We've talked to you a lot about our strategic plan. The 3 pillars of success: every child, every day with healthy minds, healthy bodies. Pillar 2, a K-12, pre-K to 12 longitudinal system of curriculum and instruction. And Pillar 3, safe and secure learning environments for our students. So when I developed my goals, shared them with the leadership team, principals shared them with teachers, we send them out so that everyone knows what they are, and we try to keep the goals in the school district aligned as much as we can. Because we did work with Planning for Success, the Department of Ed actually asked if they could publish these goals on their website because it's showing for them how they're trying to reduce the number of plans people need to do in their school districts, but also how plans can be cohesive and in trying to ensure what needs to happen. I believe one of the reasons that we had an optimistic outcome to our town meetings is because of this strategic plan. Because I think we've all become better at articulating who we are and where we want to go. And that's why I think it's been very important to keep that plan out there and to really work hard to look at what it is we need. Even though the success budget wasn't successful last year, at the end of the school year, as a committee, you dealt with class size, and that problem was solved. We were able to increase librarians. Are we where we want to be? No. But we made progress. And this year, we've continued to make that progress. And I'm optimistic as we have our meeting June 12th, and we look forward that we'll be able to continue to do that. One of the things that's important when you have a strategic plan is that you have action plans that really mean something. So we have annual action plans. We shared those with you at the beginning of the school year, and we've been very fortunate because our consultant from DESE really loves Whitman-Hanson. So she just keeps coming back every time we ask her to, and I think it's really important to have an outside facilitator who can come in and say, this is where you're doing okay, this is where you need to work on it. If I was doing it as superintendent, everyone's looking around, what does Ruth think? Should we do this? Should we do that? And we don't get the unbiased look at what we're trying to do. So what I tried to do with my goals, and I think what the rest of us tried to do, is really look at our action plans, and we've revisited them this year. We've already done it twice. We did it once in December, tweaked them, changed them, did it again in March, and then our consultant will be back with us in early June to do that again, and we'll develop new action plans for the upcoming year. So the first goal is really looking at the cohesive pre-K to 12 system of teaching and learning. And as you know, we've had our directors report to you periodically. This is definitely a work in progress. I think one of the challenges for them is how do we balance elementary, middle, and high school. We had a conversation as recently as yesterday looking at how do we effectively use our early release days to really be able to move forward in doing this. But I think we've had a lot of successes. Ellen has worked with them with Atlas Rubicon, which is a wonderful electronic shelf where they're going to put aligned curriculum. We talked about it yesterday. Ellen, they're doing a pretty good job with it, right?
They're doing an excellent job, and the teachers' participation in that process is critical, so that they know that this is a unified, district-wide, grade 2 in one town, grade 2 in the next town will be doing the same thing.
Yeah. And so they're gradually getting things in and getting them done, and we're excited about that. We've had numerous meetings throughout the school year. As you know, when the budget was approved, that's going to include new curriculum at the middle school in both mathematics and science. That's definitely a product of our success with this goal. And in addition to that, Brian Seelig and Mark Stefanski are in the process of writing a grant that's going to go in on Friday that will provide professional development money in the summertime as they continue to work on the alignment of middle school math and science. So this is a goal we're going to be working on forever and ever, But I think we've made really tremendous success in moving forward with that. Any questions on the first goal before I move on? Okay. Second goal is we're really looking at how do we communicate our plan and how do we do communications. And when Principal Simonak was here, he talked about, well, these are ways we're going to get the word out about graduation tickets, and you heard him say he was going to tweet. So one of the things we've worked at this year is trying to be better at using Twitter, trying to get positive information out about the school system. I would say I'm probably quite average at doing it. Some of us are much better at it than others, and George Farrow's past master at it, but really a way of getting things out there. In addition to that, we have been working with local cable access. It's under new direction. Chad and I have met with them. They're working on doing this meeting tonight and trying to use our cable station to get the good news out about Whitman-Hanson and also to help people be informed. In addition to that, Pat Dillon has been working on a variety of things with working with our safe first responders in terms of communicating with them so that that information is out there as well. This year, we've been very fortunate to be part of the RADAR project. And RADAR is almost the second step of planning for success. And what RADAR does is it looks at all that information that we send to the Department of Education, sorts it out, and is trying to look at that as how we link our plan, our budget, and what we know about the data that we have in schools together. Next week, Pat Dillon and Christine Succo will be presenting on behalf of Whitman-Hanson at MASBO, which is the Business Officials Conference, about the work that we've been doing with the RADAR project. So it's another way that we can communicate with people what Whitman-Hanson is doing, what our successes have been, and where we can do better and work on that. I do think, in terms of communication, the success we had with our budget is the product of working closely with boards of selectmen, finance committees, trying to keep the process as transparent as we possibly can. We have a new website that was launched this year. I think that's gone very, very well. We work with the Express to get articles in as much as we can. We've also communicated through employee benefits fairs. As you know, health insurance has been a big issue with us this year, and Michelle has worked with Christine and Pat to get that out. We just had our fair at the end of April. So a variety of ways of trying to get everyone to communicate better. Munis system continues to be something we work on. We're working on employee self-service now, which will allow our employees to be able to get information about their W-2 forms, all sorts of different things such as that. So communication, it's an ongoing challenge. I think it's something we've made good strides with this year. Any questions on the second one?
Fred?
More of a comment than a question.
Sure.
We considered our budget for 2018 to be a success. And I don't look at it as being a success. I look at it as treading water. I look at it as the need for our school district, and we need to, in my opinion, keep harping on this day after day, week after week, to do level services, to tread water, is just simply unacceptable today.
I think that's a valid comment, but I also see it in some ways as a positive because we have not seen a 3.15% increase in the budget in a long time. I agree with you that it's level services, but I also see it as a movement forward. The reason, can I just please finish? When I reviewed, and if you look at the community guide to the budget that we put together, we haven't had level service. We've been cutting, reducing programs over and over again. 2 years now of level service. Now I think it's time to move forward. And I think we've got people really willing to do what they need to do. I think this year one of the huge challenges, Fred, was the issue of the increased health insurance. And I think without that, a 3.15 would have moved us much farther. And that's where I think it's going to be so important that we meet with everybody to get moving on this, because I can guess that next year a level service is going to be another 3.15. So it's going to take way more than that to get what you're talking about.
the big issue is, and the towns were tremendous in supporting us,
And you don't want to minimize
and,
that, that's right.
Exactly,
yeah.
don't want to minimize that at all.
But we're not
But when
done.
you're looking at the fact that 52% of our budget comes from the state, our towns can raise their levy limit by 2.5%. If our budget's increasing by 3% and the amount of monies that they have allotted for the schools obviously ends up increasing, they're standing behind us and they're doing their best.
Right.
But the state's not even giving us a 1% increase. It's like 0.6 or 0.7, it's ridiculous. And there has to be some accountability for the unfunded mandates. They
I think the
require us to do
unfunded
so
mandates
much.
and also looking at the Chapter 70 formula, that's a real problem. It's a formula that is based on early 1990s. It doesn't take into account costs for special education, doesn't take into consideration costs for health insurances.
So
So you're right. I mean, you're true. It is, I think we're moving in the right direction. That's the good news.
I just want to say, don't consider that to be, our budget to be a quote-unquote success, because it's still unacceptable.
Got to keep moving forward.
Mr.
Steve?
Trotter?
Reverend, yes, thank
Yeah.
you, Ruth. Oh, sorry. Who was,
Mr. Trotter?
okay.
I think something that's important, and I want to compliment my members, is that we started out at 11.5%. And we did not go below that at all. And I think that helped us to get where we were. I agree, it's not the greatest thing for a school district, but I think the town moved forward for the first time since I've been here. And I think this committee, by holding its ground up to the last minute, probably had both towns realize that, we were serious. Because in the past, as I've said before, we've always acquiesced, we've always dropped down to the bare minimum. But this year, we held fast. I think we presented our case very well. I think the town realized what dire straits we were in. And I hope moving forward that the meeting we have on June 12th, that we have the right people in place and that they see what the importance is in maintaining education. Education basically is, to my opinion, is the foundation of a town, of a community. And if that starts to go below grade, I think the town starts to drop a little bit as well. So I think everyone needs to keep in mind that education is a very important piece, and in order to improve it for the children in the grades, the children who move into town, that, and across the state, it's a very important role for communities to maintain strong public schools. And I think by starting at that 11.5%, which was probably startling when the number came out, and I'm glad Fred went to 11.5%, I think that helped us quite a bit, and it got us to where we are. Is it great? I agree with you, not necessarily, but in this instance, it really moved us forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've taken a huge turn, obviously, and this is just giving us the momentum to continue forward. Yeah, it wasn't all going to come at once, and Fred, I appreciate your words, and Mr. Trotter, appreciate your words as well. I think it was last week in a forum, and not to get off topic or anything, but I mentioned about these unfunded mandates. Maybe while we're also studying our budget and starting the process on June 12th, we also have an underlying piece that maybe there's a smaller group of us that, well, what exactly are these unfunded mandates, and what can we do to promote at a state house level through our representatives, through our state senator, that gives us some funding? I mean, we hear about you're going to get probably 55% back on regional transportation. I'm just using wild numbers here, so don't quote me on anything. Or you're getting back, 75% on a circuit breaker. All right, everything should be at 100% because we're following it to the letter of the law. But if there's are these unfunded mandates, and I think we actually had a very nice conversation about it, let's see if we can get to the root of this. We're all here to help, and we're all here to do our piece, and I can't see us, saying it, and I hear it, and I know everyone has a passion for fixing that, but let's find out what it is, and not that we don't know what it is, obviously, but let's get in there, and let's That's our next turn. I mean, you know, they're coming in progression. We've made that turn. We made that commitment into that turn, and we're gonna keep rolling that way.
Yeah. Good.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Ruth, I know you're on your goals, but just to finish up with that June 12th, for anyone that may be watching this evening, on June 12th, we're going to have a meeting with leaders of the town from finance committees, from selectmen, from people on this committee, to start right out of the gate. Every year we say this and our budget rolls and the town budgets end up rolling, and it starts in January or February when we start getting numbers, and then we get pushed off until when the governor's budget comes out. This year, we're going to be putting a task force together, and our first meeting is on June 12th, to see if we can't get a little ahead of the ball here and see if we can't figure out some of this funding, and whether it means dragging in the legislators, as you've talked about, or going further, or going to the State House. We're going to try a little bit different approach as a regional school district and see if we can get some traction going here. It's something that we're doing different that we haven't done in the past. So we'll be reporting to everyone as we have these meetings at the next school committee meetings to come forward of where we are, and if some people might want to attend these meetings, they're open meetings, we'd be more than happy to have anyone there that has any type of input or play in the game, because ultimately, that's what we're looking for, is to straighten this budget gap out. So anyone that's watching, put your thinking hat on. We're open to suggestions. We'd be glad to have you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you,
I think
girls.
that's important, and, you know, clearly, I do see optimism. Certainly, this is, now for 2 years in a row, we're not cutting programs, and, you know, that's important. The third goal tied in with pillar number 1, which is every child, every day with healthy minds, healthy bodies. And this is clearly a goal that is of utmost importance to us, because if our students are not socially and emotionally ready to learn, everything we do is not going to be nearly as effective. And for this particular goal, John Cleely's worked hard on this. He was the successful grant writer of a $20,000 Safe and Secure Schools grant that's coming to fruition. In addition to that, Maureen McKenzie has done an awful lot with the food services program. She's getting newsletters out. We've had numerous promotions because we know that nutrition plays a big role in this as well. We've been part of the North River Collaborative Grant. Unfortunately, that is going to end, so we know we need student support, and that's really our next step as we look at the budget, is how do we ensure that we have the social workers in our schools to help us meet the needs of our children. This is something of huge concern to us. And we've made some progress here. There was a wellness fair that was held in April, quite well attended. We worked with Panther Education Trust on that, and also North River Collaborative. John's been meeting regularly with the Wellness Committee to keep this all at the forefront. We work very closely with Whitman-Hanson Will, which is part of the Brockton Area Opioid Prevention Task Force. Big concerns about both alcohol and drug abuse in this particular part of the state and in these communities. We had a meeting with them on Monday to talk to them about alcohol policies at middle school and high school. It really goes into the handbooks, so you'll be learning more about that and how we can really get students the help that they need. So something that's going to be ongoing. We continue to really work at how do we support our children. Social media, a lot of pressure on kids today. This is something we have to take very, very seriously, because if our students are anxious, they're not going to be able to learn. I think we made good progress on this year with this, and I think we have a lot more to do. Many of us also took the online class. Desi offered a class on inclusion and inclusive practices. I took it. I thought it was terrific. Recommend all of you take it, because it really does give you a much greater sense of what inclusion means, that every student should have the opportunity to learn and access to the general curriculum to the greatest extent possible. So many of us did complete that. We continue our collaborations with North River, with all, Pilgrim Area Collaborative, those areas as well. We also have a pilot called Calm Classroom. There's a grant that is used for professional development, and John, I'll put you on the spot for a minute. Can you just tell them a little bit about Calm Classroom?
Sure. This is a project that's been used in some other districts and some surrounding districts, looking at teaching kids some mindfulness techniques to better equip them to handle the stresses of their daily life, both here at school and at home. So using the grant, part of the grant, we've been looking to purchase some materials to get teachers some training to start weaving this into the school day, where it's maybe 4 to 6 minutes a couple of times a day to teach them some mindfulness strategies and help support them that way. So we're beginning to embark on this. I think folks across the district who know of Calm Classroom are very excited to sort of impart their knowledge on the rest of the district.
And you had some grant money, so we were able to give it a try, too. So, any questions on the third goal? It's one you're going to hear a lot more about as we keep moving forward. And the last one is safe and secure schools. And commend Pat Dillon and his committee for the work that they've done on the SEMP plan and also on the continuity of operations plan. This has been a major endeavor. Just the email that was sent to me with all the components was somewhat overwhelming. Pat, maybe you can give them a quick update on where you are.
Yeah, so with the SEMP, right now, the district safety committee, each member has a copy of it for their final edits, and once they're scheduled to give that back to me by next Friday. Once they do that, probably a week for us to put those edits back into the plan, and with the goal shortly thereafter to give the plan to the superintendent in draft form, allow her to review and edit, get it to the first responders just to get their feedback and edit, and it'll go from draft to version 1 sometime in June.
And this is going to be critically important that you never know from one day to the next what is going to happen. We go from gas leaks to water to everything else. So, yeah, Rob.
Quick question. Do you have any nurses on the committee from any of the?
We don't. We talked about that. We don't. No.
Could I ask?
I think this
just
came
because
up
of my
already.
job, I would
Yeah.
like to see the nursing staff included. And you and I have discussed it real
I
quick
think
before.
you did.
Yeah, if you're able to throw them into some of these committees and stuff, I think it would help. At least in Hanson, as Pat knows, we work very, very closely with the nurses, so.
And that's important.
Yeah, I think it'll help with things if you could. Thank you.
And the other piece of this, this particular goal is also working closely with Ernie Sandland, who is working on really developing plans for the various schools so that we have good profiles of what's going on in each building. Ernie does an outstanding job of doing that. And one of the things he's been working on this year, and we talked about it at the facilities subcommittee meeting, is a better system of tracking work orders and things that happen in the school district. I think he's made good progress with this year. I think there's more to be done. We still have people not calling them directly. We want to do a work order system much more like the one that the technology department has, to be able to be doing that as well. So, yes, question?
I think it's important, Ruth, also for the committee to know, and people during the vacation, we had a drill, a first responders drill here, a Plymouth County first responders drill. I think Hanson Fire and Whitman Fire and Hanson Police and Whitman Police put it on, where they used this building for a drill, which was all obviously.
And Bob played a victim.
Yeah.
I got shot, yeah.
Yes.
Wouldn't be the first time.
No.
But it showed, it gave people and staff and people that were here the idea of what happens when this goes on and what this drill is all about. So it was instrumental. I know Ruth and Pat and a lot of people within the fire departments, as I mentioned, and the police were very instrumental in getting this done. But the more drills that you have on first responder issues, the better equipped this district is to handle anything that comes along, because as Ruth said, every day is a different day.
It's a new adventure, right?
It definitely is.
Yeah. So are there any questions on the fourth goal?
No, and actually, I'll just make a comment with gas leaks and things like that. I mean, just in my job, it's been very good, the response that we get from Ernie's group and from central administration, because we've seen Pat more times than we want to with some of these things, but it's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, we know he's coming.
Yeah.
So, and same thing with Ernie.
I
We
think
know that
we've
he's
made
coming.
huge improvements
Yeah,
in
no,
this
they're-
area.
I guess say great,
Yeah.
great strides,
Yeah.
great strides.
Yeah, I also, coming from another district, I'll give Craig a lot of credit. I mean, he put a lot of structure that far exceeded a couple of the other districts that I've worked with. So there was a great foundation to work off of. So when you see the SEMP, there's a lot of structure, there's a lot of things that we attach to Whitman-Hanson.
There were good things in place.
Yeah, there were. There really
And
were.
then I think we've really fine-tuned things and worked on developing good protocols for what we do when different things
Yeah, it's
happen.
been good.
So these are the goals. They can't, certainly, they're the product of the work of our whole team working together. We have leadership meetings just about every other week. Administrative team is when everyone gets together. They've worked a lot on the strategic plan. We've got great support personnel at all different levels, so it takes a lot of people. It's a team sport, educating students, and it's a lot, but I think we're ending the year on a good note. And the positive community support at the end of this year is certainly a good way to move into to next year. So happy to answer any questions, or if you have questions after you've reviewed this or you want more detailed information, I'm happy to provide that for you.
As you know, as Ruth finishes up her goals, you have a sheet in front of you. These goals have to be discussed in open meeting. So please fill out your sheet and either turn it in to Michelle or myself, and then in the next meeting after that, we will come out with the results in an open meeting to tell you where the committee thought Ruth was with her goals. This has been shortened up a lot because the summative evaluation, the original evaluations used to be 25 different questions. You would have to be working in the school district to be able to answer this. So this has been, DESE has really shortened this system up to the point, but it's, in the other system used to be done and then it would come out. This is a product that needs to be done in open meeting. So when you come back with it, Michelle and I will summarize it, and we'll come back with you with the percentages. Any comments that you have, as last year, for new members, I will read comments as we go through to see where we are, because this is something that needs to be done. We have to evaluate the superintendent right out in the open, which I think is a great process. Much, much different than the old school process of doing it.
No, I think it's come a long way. I do.
If you have any questions, contact Ruth, contact myself, or go through Michelle.
Sure, we can clarify anything.
And we'll get
for
this
you.
done, and we won't drag it out, and we'll be all done.
Yeah. Well, we'd
probably
like
by
to
the
do
next
this
meeting.
before there's a rework too, so
Right.
that we can.
And that way it's done. The evaluations are done. As she said, this is her third time in presenting it, so it's a product that we need to finish.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And Christine, if you have an update on this year's
I
budget.
sure do.
Thank you.
We have a one-pager here, which is, we'll address the revenue first. Do you have it?
I don't.
Don't.
No?
Wasn't given out.
Somebody didn't pass the vote.
We're just making sure.
Excuse me.
Yeah, so there's, I'll start at that end. Okay.
This is a little red.
The budget stuff?
Take one, pass it
Yeah,
on?
take them together.
Pass it down.
Take the whole thing?
Take the whole thing.
That was a one-pager.
I thought it was a one-page.
Well, the one page is
The
on
one
the top.
page is
the
the
other is
revenue that I thought you
expense.
had, so I'll address that once everyone has their packet.
We're confused.
Another one?
One more set.
One page
Oh.
of revenue.
No, that's okay.
Is there a one-pager
I
coming?
just figured.
You all have
Well,
it?
Else need it?
Big pile from the.
All right.
Oh, hey, then you would,
I don't have
Single
any
page
more
or
revenue.
multi-page?
Revenue
Should have
stuff.
20.
Are there any single pages?
We only have expense.
Revenue
Should
and
have a
expense.
single
Should
and
have
a.
a
have
Single
it
and
in the packet.
We
Staple.
need revenue.
All right, one side,
single
single
page.
revenue,
Or the
one side.
single
Should have staple.
Thank you, Michelle.
We good? Excuse me.
Okay, Christine,
Okay, so the one-pager
right here.
is the revenue that we've received to date. We're actually really we're right on track. We've received all of our assessments from the towns. operating assessment, capital assessment, and non-mandated busing assessment. If you look down, we've got Chapter 70, we're have 10 months, so we're at 83%. If you look down to where you see the Chapter 71 transportation, I received an update today that we're anticipating payment 1 of just over $335,000 in May, and the rest of it, another $335,000 in June. Going down where it says interest income, we were conservative in what we estimated at $10,000, and we've received $34,000. So I believe with our anticipated revenue for FY18 at $30,000 for the interest income, that we'll be right on track.
Good.
The transfer from circuit breaker, I will do that at the end of June, and when we have the closeout in August, that will reflect there. I made the transfer from the unreserved surplus, which is excess and deficiency. So we're right on track with revenue. Does anyone have any questions?
Christine, do you recall, and I know, again, for some of the new members, because of Munis and because of the way we've been getting this, we haven't had to borrow any money.
That's right. We haven't had to do a RAN, because in June, according to our teachers' contract, they get their last 5 payments in June. So in the first few years that I was here, we only received Chapter 70 money quarterly. That would be an issue in June because we wouldn't receive the quarterly payment until June 30. We typically would pay our teachers on or about the 20th of June. So we'd have to do a RAN, which is a revenue anticipated note. But you'd have to go through the state, you'd have to show them your cash flow, and then they'd have to prove that, yes, you need the $6 million for 10 days, and you pay interest on that. So now, the last 3 years, Chapter 70 has been coming in on a monthly basis, which has way improved our cash flow.
So does everybody understand that we haven't had to borrow any money for that gap time? Which has also saved the district and the taxpayers money because the money is coming in monthly instead of quarterly. So that has updated some of what's going on with our budget and saved us some money. It's not a ton, but every penny counts.
And they've also talked about next year, the school choice, the charter school reimbursement. We typically don't see any reimbursement until October. There's been talk about how they're going to start providing that monthly as well. So based on what they know from our spring reports that we send in to DESE, and then they catch up with us and we report again in October. So.
Good.
Charter school reimbursement?
Thank you.
I noticed that was up a little bit.
Yep, charter school is up a little bit. In the last budget that we got in June of last year, I originally had put in $78,000, and we thought it was going to increase to $99,000, or be reduced, and we're over by $14,500, and we still have one more payment. So.
What do you anticipate it being?
Probably another $10,000 or so.
Good.
So, yeah, we're up there too, Dan.
Anyone else have any questions for Christine?
On the revenue? Okay, so the other bigger packet is the expenses to date. The first column, again, shows you the original appropriation. The second column shows you the transfers and/or adjustments. Thank you. I wasn't at the last meeting. Thank you for voting, considering the transfers. Those are reflected here. Then you have your revised budget. The year-to-date expended is what's actually gone out the door in checks. The encumbrances is any goods or service that has not been paid out on yet. It's just in reserve. The last one shows you the available budget. Couple of areas that I want to just focus in on, not particularly at schools, but this year we've had a lot of leave of absence from people that have been here for a while, and it's all been paid. So some of the substitute lines you'll see are reflected here that are over because we're paying substitutes, long-term substitutes for people that are out on leaves of absences. The other one, of course, that I bring to your attention is on page 12 is the McKinney-Vento homeless. We budgeted 45,000, and to date, we've spent 63,000, and we still have 25,000 is what we anticipate between now and the end of June. So we're over in that account by just over $42,000. And I have not received any reimbursement for, to date as of today. Sometime in June is usually when we receive that. That was last year's money, Fred, that we received in July. So typically we get it in June. Last year, we didn't get the homeless transportation until July. So I have to post when it actually gets put in the bank.
And how much do you anticipate?
This year, probably about
Wanna guess?
30,000.
30, okay.
Yeah.
So it'll come in July for this fiscal year?
Yes, sometimes it comes in June.
Yeah.
Last year it happened to come in July. That's why I say June or July.
Yep, okay.
And even though I have to post it when it's actually posted in the bank.
Yeah.
So hopefully June we'll see something. They haven't been able to tell us that yet, so.
Another question,
Sure.
Christine. Do you see any more line item transfers before the
Yes,
end
I'll
of
have
the year?
closeout line out transfers that will happen in August.
August, okay.
Typically, we have three, one like in
Yeah.
October, November, once all the staff is in place, typically in place by then.
Yep.
And then in the spring, the one that you just did in April, and then a one at closeout in August.
Not one in June. Okay, good. Thank you.
A lot can happen between June 14th and June 30th, so I just wait and do
We can.
the closeout.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Christine.
Okay. Any other questions for Ruth?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, old business, 2017-2018 budget. Pretty much sums it up what
Pretty
you,
much sums it up what we talked about earlier about the town's at 8.5% and all the capital items and
Well, we don't really know what the state contributions are going to be at this point in time. There's some legislation out there. You know, we're hopeful that regional transportation will be higher than it was when we got the governor's budget. The whole issue of Chapter 70, how much per pupil. You know, the governor budgeted 20. That doesn't do much for us, so we're hoping that that will improve. Who knows when we'll know that? Sometimes we get that, know that by the end of June. Oftentimes it's not till about the second week in July. So the actual final budget will come to you after we know exactly what we're getting from the state.
which is typically in July. And the other concerned area that is the charter school assessment. That is, between the three budgets that are already out, it's all over the place. I mean, the last one, they were anticipating over almost $200,000 increase in the actual assessment. But then they're also saying that the charter school reimbursement will be increased, so.
So we really have to wait on that piece of it. But in terms of the local contribution, you know, at this point, we know where we stand with that.
so it looks all good. We're in a little bit better shape.
Yeah, and I think much closer to target share, which
Right.
I think is certainly a benefit to everybody.
Fred?
And also on the state front, I did have a conversation with a former Whitman-Hanson grad who works for Senator Brady, Rick Branca.
Yep.
And Josh Cutler had sponsored legislation to increase the minimum per pupil expenditure to $50 on an annual basis. I believe Jeff Deal co-sponsored that, as did Senator Brady. Senator Brady is going to be speaking on behalf of that bill, on behalf of Jeff and Josh, or Josh and Jeff. So there may be a glimmer of hope that the $20 from the governor's budget, the House ended up at 30, may even go to 50, and it may be an annual, at least we can hang our hat on that, who knows. But as we hear from the state that they're taking in less money than they anticipated year after year, so.
Thank you.
Just so the people will know, that bill originated here with Josh Cutler, Jeff Deal, and Senator Brady sponsoring it through the time that we asked them to come and help us out with that problem when it was at $20. And they sponsored it and brought it in at 50, and then it got voted at 55. But I believe, Fred, isn't this bill a permanent bill to raise it from 20 to 50, so it does not get voted yearly?
What it states is that the minimum increase that a school district will receive is a $50 per pupil.
That's what I'm saying.
Increase.
It's a permanent bill. It brings it from the 20 to the 50.
Well, right now, there's nothing.
No.
Right now,
It's voted every year.
Could be zero.
It's voted every year. And
That's right.
what that means to us, and I think everyone here knows this, is there's no way to bet to take it to the bank, so to speak, of what's coming in. And if it goes from 50, we lose approximately $135,000 or $36,000. And when your budget is as close as it all, not just Whitman-Hanson's budget, everyone's budget, if you looked at East Bridgewater last night, they've got very similar issues, and I think there's a town meeting somewhere locally here tonight that has the same school issues. So if it goes to the $50, it will give you some certainty of where you're going to start. There won't be that question, so. Kudos to them for trying to get that done. Mr. Boyce?
Excuse me. I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but, we were talking about the June 12th meeting. Unfortunately, I won't be here. I'm going on a well-deserved vacation after all the travel around the country. I'm going to go travel around the country again. On my own. But aside from that...
Visit President's Library.
No, I'm staying away. I'm going somewhere where they don't have one. Colorado. But anyways, I spoke to a colleague who's also one of our sitting selectmen in Whitman, and he has not been involved in our processes before, but is going to be joining us on June 12th. So that's just another layer that I so appreciate and wanted to share, that kind of just gives us, it's not just town administrator, finance chair, a few other people, if we start seeing selectmen that we haven't seen before and so forth, it's just going to speak volumes, and I really think it's going to be a big boon and a big help. And it has nothing to do with me. He was just in conversation with me, and I just thought it was an important piece to share with you all.
Well, thank you, Mr. Boyce.
You're welcome.
Okay, new business. U.S. Department of Education is doing a survey they haven't done, and I'll read just quickly. There's three pieces in your packet. Until now, middle grades have been noticeably absent from national studies, creating a gap in information needed to answer important questions pertaining to the growth of young adolescents and how we can impact their academic and social success. So as you can see, these are some of the it's a longitudinal study for middle grades for 2017 and 2018, and it tells what's going to be done. I'm sure Ruth would like to speak on it a little bit more, but this is something we have to vote on to either accept or refuse to do.
Right.
Ruth?
We were approached, actually it came in a very special envelope from the U.S. Department of Education asking Whitman-Hanson to participate in this survey. I did have a phone conversation with them, and they are interested in the Hanson Middle School. So it's just one of the middle schools. Did talk to Principal Tranter. He's perfectly willing and interested in participating in this. It would be 35 students in 6th grade, completely voluntary. And there was a question and answer piece that came to you with your packet. And I know one of the concerns is confidentiality, and they do address that, saying that this is used only for statistical purposes and that the identity is not disclosed. When I did talk to them, I know that the US DOE would very much like us to participate in this, but all surveys do need to be voted by the school committee. So before we can move forward with this, we wanted to bring it to you all.
And there's a couple of things, if you read down on the last page, what happens if a student refuses? All participation is voluntarily. There are no penalties for not participating in the study. When completing the questionnaires, respondents can skip any question they do not want to answer. If the individuals or school are hesitant to be part of a study, please reach out so the staff can address the concerns. And another concern I know that's always been a part that this committee is interested in is, will the names of the participants and their responses be kept confidential? Under law, the information provided by schools staff, students, and parents may only be used for statistical purposes and may not be disclosed or used in an identifiable form or any other purpose except as required by law. All field staff and other staff working on the study have signed an affidavit of non-disclosure where they swear to abide by this law. Field staff have undergone a criminal background check as a condition of this employment. So basically, no names.
And important information too, clearly, in terms of middle school. So we'll be looking for a vote.
Do we have a sample of the survey that they're sending out?
No, I don't have that at this point.
I'm going to make a motion to accept so we can.
Go into discussion.
I'll second and
Discussion?
discussion.
Ally, and then Fred. Do you have a question, Ally?
I just wanted to know if there was a sample, that was all.
Okay.
This is a new survey, and it's an unprecedented survey, so I don't believe there is a sample at
Do we
this
have an
point.
idea of?
If we wanted that, I'm sure, they could send us what they have.
Do we have a better idea of any idea of what type of questions they will be asking?
Yeah, well, I think it tells you that when you read the,
It does.
yeah.
School administrator will be asked to complete an approximate 40-minute web-based questionnaire about the school and the school environment and math. Teachers or students selected for the study will complete web-based questionnaires about their background and classroom characteristics, approximately 20 minutes, as well as an answer about questions about the skills and abilities of specific students in the study. The special education teacher provided for selected students with IEPs will be asked to complete a web-based questionnaires about their background and the special education services they provide, as well as answers and questions about the skills and abilities of specific students in the study.
And then the student questions are up here.
Students will complete a direct assessment of their math, reading, and other skills important to learning. Each student will also be asked to complete a survey about his or her school, social, and home experiences and provide height and weight measurements. The student session will take about 90 minutes. Follow-up data collections will occur in the spring of 2019 and the spring of 2020, when students are in the 7th and 8th grades respectively, regardless of whether they have changed schools.
And that's what we have, Ally, so far.
Mr. Small.
What is the criteria for selecting the student?
It's completely voluntary.
But how do you decide?
Well, it's a 6th grade student. You send it out, you let parents know, and anyone who chooses to opt out can opt out. It's as simple as that. You don't make anybody do it, yeah. You don't make, and not everyone needs to do it, just needs to
So
be 35.
the entire class will be offered?
I would think you could offer it. I don't know how USDOE is going to do that, but they need 35 for their study.
So I don't know how they're going to say,
Which 35, well, it's got to be voluntary, so you could randomly pick 35, and of those 35, if a couple of them don't want to do it, you got to pick some more.
It's all random though, Fred. It says right here.
Yep. It's random.
All participation is voluntary.
And
no, I understand that, but how do you decide what sample you're going to ask to volunteer? And then when do you put the brakes on to say, okay, I have 35, or, I don't know, I'm just not a fan of this.
I'm reading it to see if the, one parent of each sampled student will complete a questionnaire via a web survey or telephone interview. A paper and pencil version of the survey may also be available upon request. The questionnaire will take about 40 minutes to complete. So parents are involved. Students will complete a directed assessment. I already read that.
You said Bill was okay with this? Bill Trantham?
Yeah,
You talked to-
I talked to Bill, and he
Yeah,
said he didn't see any problem
Okay.
with doing this.
Thank you.
And I do think, like, they tell you why are they doing this? Why is this important? And I think if you want decisions made in Washington about middle school students, you certainly want it backed up by information. That's the part of it.
Over the past 2 decades, education policy has become more data-driven with a recognition of the importance of reliability and systematically collected information at federal, state, and local levels. This will provide for the first time national data for a longitudinal cohort that can be used to examine various aspects and components of middle grade education, as well as evidence about the effectiveness of middle grade programs and practices. Bob?
Having read through this, I would vote in favor of it for a number of reasons. Number one, I think middle school is a very distinct period of a child's education. Having taught in a middle school and had been an administrator in a middle school, it's probably one of the most unique type of educational situations you'll ever find. What I found most interesting in this was that they were going to track the social and emotional process of a student who goes from 6th through 8th grade. I think it's critical that we see what it's like within our district, within the state, within the country, to see what's going on in middle schools. Middle schools are just a hodgepodge of, I don't want to say madness, but the way everything goes, the way the students are, and plus you have to teach. So it's a very unique situation, and anyone who's in because middle school's changed over the years, but anyone who's any students in middle school now or in the past couple of years, you've seen a change, particularly the social emotional part. And I think it's important that we go forward with the survey. I mean, I wouldn't be too concerned about how they're going to choose the volunteers, because basically
They're just going to follow them.
you'll follow them and say, fill this out, see it in 3 years. And I would be interested in the outcome, just to see what the development is. But I think it's a critical piece, provided that it's beneficial as far as the data goes.
Fred?
My concern would be what do we have in 6th grade? What's the grade level in the middle?
You mean how many students?
Yeah.
About 135 in this
I thought it
upcoming
was
6th grade.
121. Okay. So out of the 135, you've got to get 35
I
participants.
think you probably can.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be a problem.
I don't think it'll be a problem.
The only drawback I saw was the meager $150 that the administrator has to do all the paperwork. I would boost that up as quickly as I could.
It's missing a zero.
Good luck with
Zero.
that.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? I have a motion and a second to accept as presented on this 3-page document that you had in your packets. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Okay. School physician.
Okay. We are in a position where the current school physician we've had for a number of years, Dr. Aziaf, is no longer going to be the school physician. He's at a point in his life where he's not going to be doing this anymore. And John Quealy has been helping with this. So, John, have you made any progress in how we're going to be finding a new one?
I've talked to some of the state medical agencies about advertising. I've also talked to some of our neighboring districts about their school physicians, so I'm gathering information as to local physicians and who might be a good fit for us. So, we'll continue to move forward with that to have a name for you by the end of the school year.
Oh, that's great. Okay, good.
All right. So we'll be getting back to you on that.
Just
Robbie?
a quick question. Would that be, and I'm only asking for myself, would that be something we would get a medical group on? It'd be one physician, but they come from a medical group versus just a single private practice?
I know some of our neighbors have a single physician within a medical group.
Okay.
Some of the local
Sure.
medical groups.
I think that's how more people practice now anyway.
Yeah. Excellent, thank you.
Fred?
What are the responsibilities?
They sign off on the standing orders for the nurses. If there is a question or disagreement from a parent as far as medical needs of a student in school or IEP, we talk with the school physician. If something like, we had an issue a couple of years ago where we needed some information on a disease sort of moving around, contagion disease, we bring them in for consult, things of that nature.
Consultant, more or
Yeah,
less.
It's not extensive work, but it's sort of an as needed, and when it's as needed, it's important when we call, so to have them on standby is necessary.
And I think we want to send a thank you to Dr. Aziaf, because he has done this for many, many years. And we'll get a note out from us and from the school committee.
Okay. I don't believe we have any gifts, Michelle, and I don't believe we have any field trips.
Could be on my
all-
package. Not all.
Field trips are already all passed. kind of getting to that part of the year where we're winding down.
Yeah.
Okay, subcommittee reports. Policy Subcommittee.
Nothing new.
Nothing's been done, and there's been no change in any of the policies.
Right.
Facilities.
We met earlier this evening, went over as, we have already the capital items that were approved at town meeting. Roof projects, Christine can probably give us a quick rundown.
Duval, as you know, you voted to have Gail do an evaluation on the roof leaks over at Duval. We are meeting with Gail, the team of us, representation, Lisa Green from Whitman, Julie McKillop, myself, Ernie, the two gentlemen from Gail, to review the draft of the evaluation on Monday. So we hope to have, by the next facilities meeting in June, a final draft of the evaluation of what's going on at Duval. At McQuon, the actual roof repairs are complete. The contractor has let us know that the week of May 22nd, we'll be receiving the door that it's going to open up to let them up to the roof. That's on order. They expect it that week. They expect that the job will be complete by May 31st. We will have a closeout meeting and a walkthrough at McQuon before that after it's completely done. The turf field, I just wanted to, if you don't mind, Fred.
No, go ahead.
That we're putting together the invitation to bid, the specs. We're going to wrap them up tomorrow. It's going to be available on the website on Monday. We're going to have a walkthrough down at the turf field on Friday, May 19th at 10 a.m. And the bids are due back on May 30th. I feel that we're really ahead of the game because I know there's a lot of other towns in the surrounding areas that are waiting for their town meetings to approve funds for the turf field. So we should be ahead of the game, and we anticipate them hoping to start as soon as school is done. So we'll have the fields ready in August.
So you'd be opening the bids on the 30th?
May 30th, yes, at 1 p.m.
Will you email me about the May 19th walkthrough?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep. That's going to be at 10 a.m. and they're going to meet at the field.
That's okay.
Instead of coming up to central office, they'll meet.
That's fine.
Okay. Also, we discussed the water testing. Most recently, it was in the Boston Globe and the Brockton Enterprise. The DEP had a program to test water in schools. And Whitman-Hanson was omitted because we didn't participate in that. The reason we didn't participate is because we had been proactive prior to them coming out with the program and already had tested and started testing all our water in our schools. It was very good to hear that out of all the water bubblers, all the sinks, all the tests that we had done, which were far more extensive than what the state testing was, by the way, we had one issue in the Indian Head, or I should say 2 issues in the Indian Head, one bubbler and a sink in the nurse's office. Both of those were remediated. The water bubble has been replaced with a water bottle type of a new spigot, and the piping has been redone to the nurse's office and the faucets replaced. So all our water and drinking water is safe. We will enter into the state program and let them continue to go forward on a go-forward basis in testing, but we were proactive and had done that prior. We will have mosquito spraying scheduled for the beginning of June through Plymouth County. We're at their mercy as far as dates, and hopefully the weather will hold for us. And that's pretty much it for facilities.
But I think it's also important to note that anyone on our fields or doing anything on our fields has to notify us. If any fertilization, they have to be licensed. They have to notify the school district so we can notify the building principals about what's going on. You just can't go up with a spreader and start spreading fertilizer. I know that everyone's intentions are wonderful, but it can't be done. We need to know. So anyone that's watching, please do not take that into your own hands. It's gotten us into it before, and I'm just stating it so we don't have that happen. I mean, everybody has good intentions, the same way with parks and fields, we have to notify on any of the fields what's going on.
You have to notify the state, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, you have to be
For
licensed.
any chemicals that are placed
If we were
out.
doing it ourselves, would chemical companies do it automatically? But if our maintenance department was to do it, they would have to do that.
Yeah, or but if someone walked up because they're trying to fertilize.
Correct, yes. Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah.
You can't
Yeah,
just
you're
go out and do it, as much as you may want to do it,
Yeah.
please don't. Any questions for Fred on the facilities?
My house, though.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Legislative updates,
No updates at this point.
North River Pilgrim,
Yeah, so North River is meeting Monday, the 15th, instead of our usual second Monday of the month. This will be the second to last before, and I know I mentioned this before, it becomes a superintendent board. But I would ask Mr. Chair and the superintendent that we keep the North River Collaborative representative on our subcommittee, because whether it's Ruth or if I fill in or still go as well as Ruth to those meetings, I think it would be a great thing, obviously reporting back and everything. Pilgrim area, we do meet at the end of the month. I met the last Monday of April with the subcommittee for the budget for 2018, FY 2018. And that subcommittee is myself, the executive director, Maureen, and our treasurer. So we went through the budget, we looked through everything, kind of dotted all the i's, crossed all the t's. It was my first budget experience as a whole, because I've only been on this for Pilgrim area for 1 year, or just coming up to 1 year. And I made my recommendations back, and we'll present that at our meeting at the end of this month, May, to the rest of the Board of Directors for Pilgrim area, the rest of the towns. And that is it.
And if I could add to the Pilgrim report, Pilgrim Area Collaborative is undergoing strategic planning.
That's right.
They're
Yep.
using the same process that we did, Planning for Success, and I've been part of the strategic planning as well as a facilitator in training with the consultant that we had here at Whitman-Hanson. So we met today, and they are just about finished with the plan, so they should have that
Yeah,
for the
that should be
board,
ready
and
too,
you'll be
yeah.
able to see it. But I think they've done a nice job with it.
Excellent. That's so excellent.
any questions for Mr. Boyce? In the Regional Agreement Committee, have we received any dates, Michelle? We pretty much,
I have, Michelle hasn't. I don't think, right? We heard from one of the consultants we met with. He gave us a list of dates. I know Christine's been in contact with them. I wrote back to him and I said, I don't think we should set any date, well, he gave dates of when they could meet and not meet.
Right.
And I said, once we've had the town elections on May 20th, we will know exactly who our committee is.
Perfect.
I think we need to see who we have, and then we'll get that date information out, and off we go.
yeah, no, because there's no question that could change.
No reason to do it before the elections. it
No,
seemed to me.
and we're right around the corner from, what are we, 10 days off?
It's the 20th.
A week from Saturday?
Yep,
10 days.
yep.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you.